I started as a caregiver in the 90s. I started at Lake West Hospital. I started in OB. From there, I went to general nursing floors. I also worked in step down. Um, from there, um, my grandmother needed health care, home care. So I left Lake West Hospital, started taking care of her. Danielle was her caregiver at one point, and she went back to work um, as working at a healthcare facility. Um, she also worked in healthcare. And let's see, she did all kinds of stuff in the office and also as a caregiver. Um, from there, working with my grandmother, my aunt became ill and also needed home care. So in tandem, I was working for the two of them. My aunt lived around the corner from us. So I went from my grandmother's house to her house. My grandmother and I shared a residence. I lived upstairs. My grandmother lived down. From that point, we moved my mom in downstairs with my grandmother. That house I grew up in. And the whole family actually lived in that house. We all grew up in that house. Um, and my mom was pretty much on her own. She was a cancer survivor, but we wanted her close to us. She lived across town, and we had to kind of go and take her shopping and what have you. So my grandmother was the strongest. Um, she had 3 kids. So I ended up being the 3 of them's caregiver. So my grandmother lived to be 101. Her baby boy passed. And 6 months prior, she passed. Broken heart. He was the baby. My mom passed in 2015, September. She was 87, 30-year cancer survivor. My aunt passed 3 months later. She had a lot of stuff going on, but my grandmother, like I said, passed at 101. She was passed of a broken heart, natural causes, pretty much. Like I said, because of her baby boy passing. Strongest of the 3 of them. When one of them would get sick, she's like, come on, let's go to the hospital and see him. She's like getting around. Strongest of everybody. She was the rock. I had a year break between the 3 of them. I took care of them 20 years. Didn't seem like 20 years, but it was 20 years. I took care of the 3 of them. I had a year break, and then Danny was diagnosed with cancer. I was staying in an apartment then because I left the house after that. My grandkids stayed with me upstairs. I moved downstairs. Danny moved upstairs for a while. Then she moved out and got a place. I left the house. A year later, I got an apartment. Danny was diagnosed. An apartment became available across the hall from me. She had a rough go of it. I was able to get her an apartment across the hall from me. Boy, was she a handful. I'd have to tip in with the key. I could hear her roll over. Ma's at you. I'd ease back out because she had a rough go. They really let her fall through the cracks. She had I ain't gonna say a Russian doctor. Too much with the steroids. She had to go into rehab, learn how to walk again. It was rough. But that's I'm gonna pretty much let her tell that story. But that's my warrior. I'm her biggest supporter, her caregiver. So it's been about 3 years. She's had her surgery. Stubborn. Couldn't get her to go back. I tried to get her to follow up with my mom's doctor. She had her own doctor. Then with COVID, she found out she had COVID. and she found out she had a brain tumor. And that was kind of rough because it was a year between when she first had cancer. That's where the stubbornness come in. Couldn't get her to go back to the doctor because once she had her surgery, it's like it doesn't go away. You have to keep going back. I said, how do you think Mom was a 30-year survivor? She kept going back. We didn't just stop. She still had to go back and forth for radiation and taking her pills because she never took the pills. So, but she's still fighting. And once she had the brain tumor, it's now metastatic. So she's in a program, trial program. She's doing pretty good, but she still has issues. But like I said, that's my warrior. She's fighting. So, like I say, now the story's hers. But I'm there with her. Her family, her kids are good. They're right there with her. Yeah. And my son and the kids. So, yeah. Cancer runs in our family. My great aunts, my grandmother's mother, and just being strong for her. It's been so hard. Just being strong. Be strong and supportive. So you have to give them that time to process what they're going through. So even though you feel like they're pushing you away, they need that time to also process what they're going through. So don't feel bad. Just be there.